Story 1. Unwanted Obsession. Hey, it's Pity42, and today I've got a story that left me shaken. During my summer break from university, I met a guy at a party who seemed like a fun companion at first. We exchanged numbers and hung out a couple of times. But things took a dark turn when he became incredibly clingy, bombarding me with messages after I tried to distance myself. I hoped he would get the hint, but his messages escalated into aggression. When I finally responded, he went from sweet to threatening in seconds. The situation got even scarier when he said he was coming for me, revealing he knew my parents were out of town. The feeling of vulnerability hit me hard, but I locked up the house and kept my guard up. What I learned from this was how easy it is for someone to find your private information online. He got my address from my phone number, a wake-up call about internet safety. So, guys, protect yourself, use disposable numbers for casual conversations, and never underestimate online connections turning dark. Story 2. A terrifying ride. Welcome back, everyone. Gather round for a story that still gives me shivers. A seemingly ordinary walk home turned into a nightmare. It all started with meeting a mysterious guy who appeared harmless at first. We talked, we laughed, and then he offered me a cigarette. It was no ordinary cigarette, though, and what followed was a harrowing ordeal. As we drove, I started feeling ill and panic set in. The guy's intentions were unclear, and my gut screamed danger. In a desperate bid to escape, I managed to get out of the car and sought help from a friend. It was a night of confusion, fear, and an experience that made me rethink my perceptions of safety. Brace yourselves for an unforgettable ride. Story 3. Reckless Choices. Hey, wonderful viewers. It's time to share a phase of my life, filled with rebellion and mistakes. When depression took hold, I turned to the online world, craving connection. What started as harmless chats led to dangerous encounters with strangers. I lived on the edge, meeting people I barely knew, fueled by a reckless desire to escape. One guy's influence led me down a perilous path, pushing me to smoke for relief. The story takes a dark turn, and I found myself in situations that left me vulnerable and exposed. Looking back, it's a tale of learning the hard way, reminding me that recklessness can have consequences we never anticipated. Let my experience be a lesson in the dangers of seeking thrill at any cost. Story 4. Mysterious Figure. Hey, folks, gather round for a story that defies explanation. Picture a peaceful village where everyone knows each other, a place that feels impervious to danger. Yet, one summer night, everything changed. As my friend and I walked towards a store, we heard eerie music and saw a man dancing alone in a church parking lot. The strangeness escalated as we passed him, but when we looked back, he was gone. Fear gripped us, and we took a detour through the neighborhood to avoid him. But the bizarre figure appeared again, dancing in front of my friend's house. It's a tale that raises more questions than answers, leaving us haunted by the unknown. Story 4. A Close Call While Walking Home. Divinit Tsunami. Hey everyone, Divinit Tsunami here, and I want to share a chilling experience from my childhood that still gives me goosebumps. I was around 10 or 11 years old at the time, and my younger brother Alex was about 8 or 9. We were walking home from the bus stop, which was just a short 7-minute walk. As we were making our way home, I started to feel that something was off, even though I couldn't pinpoint exactly what. It was a gut feeling, an instinct that told me things weren't right. Alex and I were the only two who got off the bus at our stop, and we held hands as we walked. A beat-up truck, blue and silver, drove past us. At first, I didn't think much of it. It didn't slow down or stop. It just continued on its way. But that feeling of unease persisted. The truck passed by again, going in the opposite direction, driving slowly this time. It disappeared around a corner. And that's when I felt a sense of urgency. We were approaching a 3-way intersection that connected our road to another one. The truck appeared again, driving very slowly towards us. My heart raced, and I knew we had to do something. We had to run. There was no other choice if I wanted to protect my brother. I turned to Alex, gripping his hand tightly, and without hesitation, I whispered, "No questions, just run." We sprinted to our driveway, where there was a row of bushes and pine trees that separated our home from our neighbors. I pulled Alex into the hiding spot and told him to be quiet, promising to explain later. From the bushes, I watched as the same truck drove around the cul-de-sac again and finally stopped right in front of our house. I held my brother's mouth shut as he cried, terrified that any noise could alert the man in the truck. It was a terrifying moment, but I knew I had to be strong for Alex. The man in the truck got out. He was tall, skinny, and disheveled, wearing torn clothing and a baseball cap. He looked around before eventually leaving. I waited for what felt like an eternity, making sure he was gone. Before turning to Alex, I reassured him that the truck was following us, calming him down as best as I could. After a few tense minutes, we decided it was safe to make a run for it. I counted to 3, and we sprinted across the driveway, making our way to the back door of our house. My heart raced as I heard the sound of an engine accelerating. The man had seen us. He had been waiting for us to leave our hiding spot. We managed to get inside, locked the door, and I explained everything to Alex. We called the police and my grandmother, who had drilled the concept of stranger danger into our heads. To this day, I don't know what the man's intentions were, but I'm grateful that I trusted my instincts and protected my brother. Story 5. Stranger danger strikes at night. Homegirl 211. Hey there, it's Homegirl 211, and I'm here to share a story that made me rethink taking shortcuts, especially at night. I was 17 years old at the time and working at a pizza place in my hometown. The job itself wasn't great, but it was what happened after work that truly shook me. One night, it was around 10 p.m. when I finished my shift. I had 2 options for my walk back home. Take the well-lit sidewalk with street lamps and traffic, or cut through a dark communal garden that saved me a minute. Despite the eerie feeling I had, I chose the shortcut. As I made my way through the garden, I suddenly felt like I was being watched. I picked up my pace, but then I saw a man approaching me from across the parking lot. He was wearing jeans, a black sweatshirt, and a sports cap. My heart raced, and I knew something was off. I quickly threw away the trash I was carrying and began speed walking to my car. That's when the man called out, "Hey, got a cigarette?" My gut told me this was sketchy, and I managed to mutter a quick no before getting into my locked car. Just as I closed the door, the man rushed towards my car and tried to open the door. Thankfully, it was locked. I started to panic and started crying as he pounded on my window with his fists. I turned the ignition and drove away as fast as I could. I called my mom and then the police when I got home. The incident left me shaken, and even though the police investigated, they couldn't find the guy. It's a reminder that danger can be closer than you think, and trusting your instincts is crucial. Story 6. The unwanted attention. Intelligent_cancel 59. What's up, everyone? Intelligent_cancel 59 here, with a tale that still gives me the creeps. A few weeks ago, I had a bizarre encounter that left me questioning the intentions of a persistent stranger. This story is a reminder that sometimes odd behavior should never be ignored. It all began when I found groceries and 2 coffees left at my doorstep. But these weren't your usual groceries. They included lubricant and lollipops. There was no receipt or confirmation, so I left the bag in the lobby, thinking it was a mistake. A week later, a letter was slipped under my door with $200. The letter explained that the sender was going through a tough time and wanted to hear my voice. Alarms went off in my head, and I showed the letter to my building manager. Turns out, the sender was a man from the building next door who wanted to be friends. I thought that would be the end of it, but soon I heard someone pacing outside my apartment for a few minutes. An eerie feeling settled in. Later, I found a coin placed in front of my door, right in the center. Given the strange events, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than mere coincidence. The paranoia grew, and I couldn't ignore the signs. The encounter with the man selling a car, coupled with everything else, made me anxious. It's a lesson that we must report unusual behavior and prioritize our safety. Story 7. A terrifying chase. Puzzleheaded_use_566. Hey, Puzzleheaded_use_566 here to share a story from my past that had me running for my life. Back in the mid-90s, I was living on my own for the first time, and one night, a seemingly innocent shortcut turned into a nightmare that still haunts me. I had just finished work and was heading home around 11 p.m. I had two choices: take the well-lit path on the sidewalk or cut through a pitch-black communal garden to save a minute. Despite the unsettling feeling I had, I decided to take the shortcut. As I walked through the garden, I suddenly had the sensation of being watched. Ignoring it, I continued until a large man appeared in front of me. The thing was, there was no way he could have been in front of me or right behind me without me noticing. It was as if he had appeared out of nowhere. Panic set in as I realized that this stranger was now only a few steps away from me. He was tall and imposing, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was seriously wrong. My heart pounded in my chest, and my mind raced as I weighed my options. Without giving it a second thought, I picked up my pace and started speed-walking. The man matched my speed, his heavy breathing sending shivers down my spine. I clutched my keys between my fingers, just as my dad had taught me, ready to defend myself if needed. I reached the end of the garden and made it to the sidewalk, but the man was still right behind me. I couldn't understand how he had closed the gap so quickly. My instincts kicked in, and I knew I had to outpace him if I wanted to stay safe. So, I broke into a run. As I ran, my heart raced faster than my feet. Fear coursed through my veins as I heard the man's footsteps echoing behind me. I could feel his presence, his anger and desperation. My only thought was to make it to safety as quickly as possible. My apartment building was only a short distance away, and I sprinted towards it with all the energy I had left. As I approached the entrance, two people were leaving, and they held the door open for me. Miraculously, the man didn't pursue me any further. I felt a mix of relief and confusion as I passed through the entrance. I continued climbing the stairs, taking them two at a time, until I reached my floor. My heart was still pounding, but I thought I was finally safe. However, as I walked past my own apartment and my neighbor's, the man stopped right in front of my neighbor's door. He hadn't said a word, but his heavy breathing was enough to send chills down my spine. I quickly unlocked my apartment door and rushed inside, locking it behind me. I picked up my cordless phone, ready to call the police, when I heard my neighbor, Kevin, talking to the man. Kevin's voice was firm as he asked the man what he wanted. The man mumbled something about the wrong apartment. I took a deep breath, realizing that Kevin had unwittingly saved me. I thanked him through the door, my voice trembling, and told him I was okay. But inside, I was still shaken to my core. The realization hit me that this man had been pursuing me, and if it weren't for Kevin, I might not have made it to safety. Looking back, I berated myself for not seeking help sooner, for not telling the people I passed on the street that I was being followed. But I also learned a valuable lesson about trusting my instincts and taking action to protect myself. This experience serves as a stark reminder that danger can lurk in unexpected places, and sometimes we have to rely on our intuition to stay safe.